Greetings and blessings to you all. I am Lex Stays Liquid, and welcome back to my channel. This is a special time. This is an amazing time for us to be in a position to wake up, especially as the men. Unconsciously we do things, but when we become conscious, we may able to move things and affect things and effect things and shift timelines and shift ourselves and make ourselves better beings, as opposed to being a boss, becoming a leader first of ourselves internally. So yes, thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome back to my channel, and this once again is a special time, and this video right here is a video from King's College London, right? And I wanted to point this one out because it was made about a year ago, and right now the date is, let's check it out, the date is April, right there, Friday 15th. The time is 12:55. Please excuse my notifications. So yeah, we pushing on, we pressing on, and it's the time for us to not just look on to things which tickle us from the side. Toxic masculinity is everywhere, guys. It's literally everywhere. Bottom line, point of fact, wherever you live, your sister, cousin, auntie, mother, grandmother could be a victim, or someone who knows of a victim, or someone who's a victim of someone who knows of that victim someone. And therefore we all connected, and we must become more cognizant of that, because it's the time now. We're more cognizant of our connection in IT, information technology, by way of social media. We can message so-and-so from Canada, for example, or from Australia down under, right? And it's quick, boom, off the tap of the finger. And we are now just learning how powerful that is, okay? And so with that being said, there's the birth of the healing from an African man from Africa, self-made, independent, Lex Stays Liquid. And what we're doing is we inviting partners, we inviting all independents who would love to assist in what already is a plan that is already in motion. Whether you are involved or not, the healing is going to happen, gentlemen, boys, wherever you are, and also the ladies, the queens who are listening. If you have those who are unhealed and they would love some assistance, please contact Lex Stays Liquid. We have so many keys, so many beans, so that you may be your beanstalk, or grow your beanstalk rather, Jack. You feel me? So without too much being said, let's move on to this video. This is powerful, so let's just check this out right here. This is men's views of mental health and how they deal with it. So I'm not going to talk too much. I'm going to run this video, and I would love some comments. I would love y'all to start a conversation. And remember, it's not just you where you are. There's also been men who are abused. There's a lot of men who have trauma. We're talking about childhood. We're talking about molestation, okay? We're talking about real stuff. So if you're not man enough, if you're not consciously right here for this, please move. Make this video run. Make it run. Shout out to everyone who's wrote this video, done this video, and yeah. So let me pull this right there. Let me pause that right there and just read this. Mental health affects 1 in 8 men, and they are often at greater risk of harm such as alcohol misuse and suicide. Once again, within my seminars and talks, I speak about the story of T and the story about K. Gents who have been in my life, very close to me in some way, shape, and form, no matter what that may be. They impacted me in some way, shape, and form, and so forth. They've made me, and henceforth we are here now. And so that story will give you what taps into the alcohol misuse, some drugs out there, and also suicide. Okay, moving on. To understand why this happens, 5 men spoke to us about why it can be difficult to seek help and speak to others. They also told us about some ways they cope with stresses and mental health. Make it run. Why do men find it harder to speak about others?
I'd say 10, 15 years ago, society would tell men to man up or suck it up.
You can go back and pause that.
There's more important things to worry about, like paying the bills, making sure the family are fed, have a house over their heads. But I feel like now it's more acceptable, it's being advocated for. After studying psychology, like to understand how the mind works, it's actually really important that we talk about what's troubling us. Being a black man and dealing with mental health, I do feel there's a difference culturally, because I'm Nigerian, and from what I've seen with older men in my family, for example my dad, he's one of my biggest role models, and I've never really heard him talk about how he was feeling or what he was dealing with. So being brought up in that environment, I thought that's just not something we talk about.
Society does kind of encourage men to deal with their emotions in a healthy way, more so than it did probably like a few decades ago. But I still feel like underneath that there's an element of expectation that men kind of suck it up and just deal with it. A lot of people kind of say, well, the traditional role of a man is to be the breadwinner, go out, have a good job, make loads of money, support a family. But it's getting increasingly hard to do that, especially when you look at such things like property prices going up, not many people getting good jobs. Our generation, when they went to university, they were told, go to university, you'll graduate, you'll get a great job. But what we're seeing now is a lot of people coming out of university really struggling for employment and actually doing jobs that they could have done at 16 or 18.
I've lived in a number of Asian countries. I live in Philippines, Thailand and Vietnam, and Singapore as well before coming here. And I have witnessed a strong machismo within the culture. And moving here in the UK, I don't see that there's a diminished level of machismo, and I think that's one of the barriers for men that they need to surmount if they're dealing with their mental health issues.
Yes, I do believe there is a lot of social pressures around how men should behave, and I think those messages appear very much when you're younger. I think straight away from sort of being born, really, in terms of, boys wear blue and boys don't cry, and as you get older into a sort of late teenagerhood, you keep your stuff inside, you don't, you bottle things up.
I think there are they fall over, the mummy will be the one that's like, I'll look after you, whereas the dad is the one that you wait until your father gets home, and that kind of perpetuates this myth that men are the fixers and women are the carers, which kind of means that men don't get the emotional vocabulary, emotional intelligence and emotional help that they might need.
Okay. What useful and practical solutions do you use regularly to help manage your mental health? This is very important, gents. If you're listening, you require something which will allow you to be consciously consistent in every waking morning. Okay? I'm not saying waking day or waking night, waking morning. So this is where this kind of comes in. So let's make it run. Let's see how this goes.
problems or worries I have for that hour and a half, and my mind and my focus is fully on running on that treadmill or lifting that weight that I
So what he's saying now is he's alluding to the physical aspect.
couldn't do 2 weeks ago. I tend to feel the same way about that when I'm playing football as well. For me, sport is a massive part of my life, even if it's just watching, but more so playing is just a way to escape real life. I really do enjoy the fact that there is a camaraderie, you're with people, like-minded people.
I have quite a good routine. I'll get home, I'll have a shower, just freshen up. I think I feel a lot better after that. The drive on the way home from work as well is time to kind of clear my head. If I'm dealing with a lot, then I just say that.
So shower, cleanse, clean his spirit. So that is more spiritual sort of health, what he's speaking about right here. Make it run.
Just need an hour or two to relax and just calm down, and it sort of subsides for the day.
I keep a journal, so I process my emotions, I process my sentiments through writing.
Often I try to take
Okay. So he processes it through writing. That is a mental sort of healing, which means you put it, instead of letting it boil up or amass and make it more, you put it down and leave it there, and then you can deal with it when needs be. Make it run.
step back and just kind of look at the bigger picture. I'm not a big runner, but I've always been consistent for the last 30 years, doing about 30 minutes, 40 minutes every day. But the consistency about running, it really does help with my breathing, because I notice that when I'm swimming, I notice that when I'm running.
Right there, he's talking about breath work. Breath work alludes to spiritual health, but also doubles down as physical health and also mental health, because what it does is it allows oxygen into the cells, and then therefore from the cells comes from the blood. The blood goes all over your vessel, all over the body, and also therefore it affects the brain. And when the brain has a lot more oxygen, you are more sharp, you are more forward thinking, you are more forthcoming, you are more open, you're more expansive, and therefore you open into your mind, which is, as we know, ever expansive. Make it run.
For bars or anything, it really does bring a sort of stillness, and it helps me to be how I want to be with my life.
I find listening to podcasts, I find reading, I find playing on the PlayStation, going for regular little walks, borrowing my doggy. We chill out with this little dog once a week, which is really, really good fun. Taking a little bit of time out, and also the hardest one is not drinking. I find that really, really.
Wow. So what he alluded to first was just hobbies and things which others might find boring. Even if you can do them by yourself, handle that, because it touches onto your physical, your mental, your spiritual, all in one. All's because you are in passion for it. You love it. You enjoy it with no one, nothing around, anything to sway you or push you into it. You just for it. You might like shooting guns. You might like catching wild animals. You might like shooting wild animals. But in some way, shape, and form, you might have to reform that because it's not ethical, But there's ways and there's ways. So this is just how it goes. And then he's touching on to another beautiful point. So make this run.
Really, really difficult. In the short term, that really helps. Longer term, that kind of makes it a little bit worse.
How does speaking to other people help?
If I know somebody's struggling, or if I'm struggling myself, I guess my coping strategies is to understand, try and understand the situation, why it's having that impact. Try and work on ways to divide the situation up into smaller chunks so you can deal with them. You can deal with it better. What I've noticed is that every time I go to my family and my friends and tell them I'm struggling with something, they will say, I knew it. And as a man, you need to be able to understand that, okay, how do I take the pressure off? And one of the best ways I know how to take the pressure off is by talking to people and bouncing ideas off people.
If I could give advice to anyone, it would be
absolutely amazing. So this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to create networks, not just my seminars, not just the workshops, spaces where all of us gents from all ways, shapes and forms, walks of life, community centers, juvenile detention centers, everything, we come together and we talk, gents, even if it's painful, because the other thing has not been working. Make it run.
To talk about it, like I said, it's
Talk
that
about
first
it.
step that's probably the hardest one, but once you actually have the courage to kind of take it, that's the first step on the way to actually dealing with the problem.
It may sound as a cliche, but I really see mental health as something as common as physical issues, physical health.
Initially, I do reach out to people just
You see that? They equating it to physical health. So why do we separate it, gents? Come on, man. Think about that. Make it run.
to double check and ask, is this right? Am I doing this right? You know, because in my world, I work freelance. Sometimes you're alone. You're very much alone doing what you do, and it's nice to check in with other people just to share what you're doing, your approach, your methodology, and some of the challenges that you might have.
Let's read that one time. Why men should talk to others about their mental health. This is quite interesting. Make it run.
It would almost be irresponsible for you not to find a way to deal with it. And I feel like the best way to deal with mental health is by getting advice, seeking help. It's not an easy subject to talk about, and you are leaving yourself quite vulnerable. But nowadays, it's becoming more acceptable, and without that first step, you will never climb the mountain. Nobody should have to suffer in silence.
Wow. No man should ever have to suffer in silence. Thank you. Make it run.
Because they don't feel it's macho.
It's very easy just to kind of bottle things and just to kind of let things build up and get worse and to try and ignore the problem, especially when society kind of says that men have to be tough and deal with things, but it does take a bit of courage to actually look at the situation and say, I'm not okay here and actually I need to go talk to someone.
Wow. What he's saying right there is it's okay to say that you're not okay. It's okay to say, you know what, I need some help. It's okay to say I don't need to push off a nut, bust a nut with that mistress, make more problems at home. There's ways and there's ways to deal with this stuff. That's what he's alluding to. Anyway, make it run.
I would say that those men who talk about their mental health issues, they're very brave, they're very inspirational, because personally I wouldn't do that. It's something that we should see more often, it's something that we should see more in public, up to the point that it becomes really common, that it doesn't become, out of the ordinary anymore.
When people come to you with a problem, in my personal life, that's kind of rare, so I value that. The men that I've known or seen out in the community don't want to be seen as weak. If they're a leader in some way in their own community, they don't often, there's not a sign of weakness, there's not a sign of vulnerability amongst them, and even that, for me, is a stereotype, because they're just a cardboard cutout in one sense, because even though they're leading, you're not leading if people can't really get to know who you really are.
I do respect people sort of more when they go and get help, purely because they're taking control, they're taking ownership of what would be a problem. And something really annoys me if you know that there's a problem and you are not doing anything about it, that really frustrates me. And you would never do that with anything else. You'd never go like, oh, that door hinge, that keeps on squeaking. Oh, God, that's really annoying. You're like, well, it's your house, put some oil on it. And if someone just kept on complaining and it got worse, then I'd be like, you're really annoying me. This is your house. Deal with it.
Wow. That's a beautiful point that he put on. It's like we all have our baggage and we all have our laundry and we all just trying to make someone else wash it for us as opposed to washing our own shit. Wow. Wow. That's amazing. Okay. How would you respond if someone you knew came to you for help? I mean, as a man, as a boy, how would you respond to them? Make it run.
I would never judge someone if they came up to me and told me they had a problem. Nobody is living a life with no problems or no stress. So I would be happy to talk to people. I'm someone who loves listening, and I think it does take a lot of strength to talk to people about your problems. So I would commend anyone who had the courage to tell people what was going on in their lives. A problem shared is a problem halved, and it doesn't have to be a 2-hour chat. It literally just has to be a 5-minute chat.
I personally would encourage my friends to talk to me. It wouldn't change how I view them. I know they've been there for me when I've needed them. I would always encourage them to come to me if they need to.
It's not really a sign of weakness to acknowledge that you have mental health issues. It's not really a weakness to acknowledge that you do need help.
I don't think about the masculinity. So I've got a couple of examples. My brother, who's a year older than me, who's got some mental health issues. So he's quite heavily in demand. At least 3 or 4 times a week, he'll ring me up and tell me, "Oh, got the problem with this, problem with that." But I try to get him to slow down, get him to see the bigger picture. Sometimes he gets it, sometimes he doesn't. But I would never sort of look at him and think, "Oh, you're a man, and this is how you." Because I believe, because of his mental health problem, this is the way that he is.
I think if anyone came to me with any of their problems, I would think of them differently, because I would be like, I respect you for coming to me and treating me with the respect that we can talk about that. And genuinely, I think 1 time in 100 you might get people that say, unhelpful things. But I actually think a lot of the time, a problem shared actually brings you closer together than actually draws you apart. I think it's kind of weird to see people in a negative life for what's going on in their brain, because I know 1 in 4 people has mental illness, but 4 in 4 people has mental health. So everyone has mental health. So it is mental to respect someone less for a problem with something that you also have.
Oh, wow. So everyone has mental health. What I believe he was saying or alluding to is that everyone has an issue in their mental health, which is true. Not everyone is unbroken from a trauma which has scarred them mentally from birth. Even just the birthing process it's a trauma. Because of the way we birth, unless you've been birthed via water, that's another story for another day. Otherwise, over here it reads, what do you think about the help provided by NHS, the National Health Services, mental health services? I believe that's just America. In South Africa, wow. Let me not even say a damn thing. It's worse. Make it run.
The NHS did a brilliant job in helping my family member. If anything, I wish there were more mental health workers, more social workers working in mental health. They really got to the grips of what was causing it. And I'm very glad for the work they did. It has made a dramatic.
I wish we could have the pay grade in Africa for the health workers. I mean, even community workers of any different facet of society, which is meant to be taken care of by the state, which doesn't get taken care of. I wish we can speak like him, and then we'll be all hunky-dory, but it's not, and it hasn't been. and I don't believe it will be. So let's talk the real shit. If you want to be real, you on this channel. If not, please, your life will still be what it is. But this is where we're going. There's no more lies that can be held down. Men need to also take ownership of where they are. If you used to be an offender, if you're still an offender, if you would love to be an offender, or whatever the case may be, in your own mind's eye, in your own reality, this is a chance for you to change and shift for the better. Okay? And that's by first being honest and talking. And so if you are running away from the truth and like trying to give half truths and like what they're trying to say right here, dude, we'll never get there. You get me? So it is what it is. That's why I don't do promotional posts. Make it run.
Change. When I first started secondary school in year 7, I had mandatory counselling because my parents were going through a separation, so the school advised that it was something I should do. I don't necessarily think it was something that I needed, but I think it familiarised me at an early age with the fact that some people do need help.
I sought out a therapist in my 20s for around 2 years. The experience was weekly. We had 50-minute sessions. They made me feel quite open. It was a man. He didn't judge me. He made me feel really relaxed. And I felt that I was in good hands just to be able to have someone to talk to. I found that experience really rewarding and just learned so much about myself and my past that I was trying to sort of ignore, really. And that was been really useful.
So I had 2.5 years of therapy at the Maudsley Hospital in London for my anorexia. I've been to the GP about depression and have been on antidepressants for the past couple of years. And genuinely something that I find really useful, I still call Mind, I still call the Samaritans. I just find that really, really useful. And again, that doesn't have to be used when everything is absolutely falling apart. It's kind of using it so that it doesn't get to that point. So, if an engine light came on your car, you wouldn't go, I'll just leave that until it blows up. You would probably do something about it. And I think it's the same way for your own mental engine. Just look after it. So, yeah, I've sought help, and to be honest, I've had nothing but brilliant experiences. And like, for example, talking therapies really, really work for me. CBT, not so much, because I don't like worksheets. I don't like doing homework, whereas talking therapies really, really suited me because I don't have a conscious narrative voice. So I find talking is really, really helpful for me. But you know what? Some people, like my girlfriend, she don't like talking about things like that. She likes to get it ordered in her own mind. So there's loads of different types of therapies. And the beautiful thing is, I think you see it as a kind of project of like learning what works for you, because it shouldn't be working against your brain. It should be kind of try and get in tune with what does work for that organ.
Wow. Amazing. It's all about what works for you, gents. And there's so much bullshit going on. So once again, let me leave this right here. Thank you so much for the short film that was made possible by the National Institute of Health Research, NIHR, Biomedical Research Center, BRC, at South London, and Medusely NHS Foundation Trust and King's College London. This is Lex Stays Liquid, and this has just been a beautiful chat, a beautiful dissection, a beautiful conversational opener in terms of different men's views of mental health and how they deal with it. And this has been the UK version. I'm going to be shooting the South African version live. Once again, we would love some resources, some assistance if it's available, so that we are able to not just take out of our own pocket and just not be able to continue producing. We would love to create more and just make things more for free. That's the end game, that's the end goal. Otherwise, please stay loved because you are love. Stay blissed because you are bliss. I am Lex. Please remain blessed. and stay liquid. Ciao for now. Peace.